Hello, welcome to Brap Life. My name's Angel. Thank you guys so much for listening. This week's episode is with my friend Miss Trails. She is a racer out of Northern California, and she's got a very different perspective on life than I do. So it was really cool to make this connection and see things from a different viewpoint. This is not a hard enduro conversation like normal, but it's really, really cool. And like I said, it shows a different perspective and a different side of off-road racing. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next week.
So, welcome to Brap Life.
I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for giving me your time. You're super busy and you're like kind of all over the place. Do you mind sharing where it is you're located? Because I don't really know.
I'm in Central California, Central Coast. A lot of people can kind of figure out I'm in the Monterey Bay area specifically. So that's my general location.
Okay, cool. I don't know why I thought you were in Utah. And
I go to Utah, that's probably why.
Okay. Maybe that's like when I found you, you were in Utah or something like that. So I just always associate you with like red dirt and like that's what I see in your videos and stuff. So
there's a lot of red dirt in California. It's actually mostly red dirt. So
really,
that makes sense. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. That's very different from the parts that I've been to. So
I guess it's a big state. I haven't.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been mostly in like Mojave and south of there. So, but to me, red dirt is associated with like Utah and then like Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma for several years and it's all red dirt out there. So it's just, I guess I've never seen it in California, but I've never been to your area either. So
yeah, the Sierra Nevada have a lot of iron in the topsoil layer. So if you ride in the Western Sierras, not the Eastern, but the Western Sierras, the dirt is often bright red. Up near Shasta, it's bright red. So yeah, there's a lot of places with the red soil. But yeah, the Mojave is completely different. Love riding there too, but of course, very different environment.
Very. I went to Silverwood this last weekend, which is in the southern area, San Bernardino. That was pretty fun. That actually was very reminiscent of like East Coast riding for me. So that was kind of awesome. I've really missed riding like that where there's like actual trees. So
was that an event, or is Silverwood a trail area like up near Big Bear or something like that?
So it's near Big Bear because they told me, hey, that's Big Bear when we were like up at the top of one of the mountains or whatever. And but it's like it's just an OHV trail. Like there's a lake right by there and there's just trails all over the place. So yeah, we just went out and we had fun and I had never been out that way, so I got invited. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll go. I love exploring new places. So like I've got friends who are in like Northern California who want me to come up there and I'm like, yes, like we're trying to plan weekends between like all the races that I'm going to and everything. So it'll be super cool. I'm super excited.
Yeah, let me know if you're ever in Northern California. Because I mean, again, it's a big area, but more my territory.
Yeah, for sure. I know like 5 or 6 people up in Northern Cali that I have to go and ride with. So I'm going to have to take like a whole week and just like do a whole tour of like Northern California. But then if I do that, then I'm also going to have to take time to go up into Oregon and Washington because I've been trying to get up to the PNW for like a year and a half now.
I've never ridden up there.
So all right, so we'll just turn it into a big trail ride and I'll ride in your area and then I'll just like we'll keep going and caravan north and it'll just be a thing.
Yeah, you'll just pick people up along the way and
exactly. Yeah. I'll rent a big RV or something, like a giant toy hauler, and just be like, all right, whoever can fit, jump in.
Yeah, I know. I've seen those trailers where they have like 20 motorcycles.
Yep.
Alternating on it.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's I'll have to figure it out. The Brap Life Tour. 2026 though, because 2025 is pretty busy so far.
I feel that.
Yeah. So, before I go into crazy tangents, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into riding?
I'll go way back to the beginning from my
Yes.
life. My parents met street racing. I shouldn't say
Mhm.
street racing, road racing. They weren't
Okay.
fast and furious out there. They were they were on closed courses, very controlled.
Okay.
So they were both on street motorcycles. My dad already rode dirt bikes since he was a teenager, although they looked very different back then.
Yeah.
So I was put on a bike. I don't know at what age. I'm old enough where they didn't have, the striders and
Yeah.
all of that. So it was a little older than what kids are being exposed to now, but probably
Yeah.
5, 6. Stuck on a Pee Wee Yamaha 50 with training wheels. But my first real bike was a Honda 70cc, and then went up from there. So I've been riding, I don't want to say my whole life, but it's basically since I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
That's
fortunate that way.
really cool. I didn't start riding until a few years ago. So, like, whenever I hear stories like that, especially of women who've been doing it for such a long time, like, that's so cool. I absolutely love that. And you ride some gnarly stuff. So, like, that's kind of like what piqued my interest is like, I always love learning, like, how long people have been riding. And then, like, um, kind of what was the story? Like, what was your progression? Because you race. Like, have
Yes.
you been racing since you were young, or did that
Yeah, so
happen
there were
later?
there were two phases to it. I would say my story is
Okay.
similar to a lot of women when they say, "Oh, I've only been riding a few years. Oh, I've been only riding, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is." I get that.
Uh-huh.
I rode My parents never had me race. I think we
Uh-huh.
did one or two family enduros
Mhm.
together. Uh, I know we got lost during one of them, so we didn't even finish. But there was no pressure for us to go fast. We did
Yeah.
ride a lot though, so we would go to Hollister Hills, if anyone knows where that is, and
Mhm.
like every Sunday, to the point where there
Yeah.
was a phase where I dreaded kind of loading up and going to Hollister Hills. But I was always on the biggest bike I ever got to was a Honda 230,
Mhm.
which I love. I still have that bike. It's registered in my name now. I've taught a couple people how to ride using that bike. But I went away to school after high school, and then I
Mhm.
graduated a few years ago. And after that, I barely rode
Mhm.
all the way through college. And then after college, I thought, well, it was COVID times too, but it was past the main COVID times. And I thought, well, I need something else to try and do. So why don't I just try a race?
Yeah.
I kind of knew a woman, and I'd ridden with her a couple times, and she said, "Oh, I raced a hare scramble. It was fun." So I thought, okay. So I showed up, and I had just moved on to KTM 250, but it was a 2007, so a really
Uh-huh.
old. My 230 was 2003, so it was new,
Mhm.
2007, and did that race, and then I got hooked. And my bike apparently was kind of a piece of garbage, so very quickly we realized I needed something better. So I got
Mhm.
the bike I have now, which is my 2018 KTM 350 EXC. Legal for the street, but there's a Get ECU in it. And yeah, so only about 3 years ago did I start, I don't want to say taking riding seriously, but
Yeah.
trying to start racing and getting faster and developing my skills. And I've met so many amazing people, and I've been able to ride in so many amazing places. And I'm involved with riding at a level for the past couple years, especially, that I was never involved with early on. So that's kind of
Mhm.
the later, more recent phase of my riding life.
So you found your passion with it. Like, It's kind of always been there, but you really had to find it like on your own, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I say is I came to it as an adult because I wanted to.
Yeah.
After much later after the phase of because I had to. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I loved riding as a kid. I had so much fun. We would go down to the Mojave Desert, Spangler
Mhm.
Hills, a lot and ride there. But I rediscovered it uh, later on.
Yeah. I think it's really cool because I've met several people who've kind of done that, where they grew up riding or racing and then they kind of go away from it for a little bit, and then it's just like that like refining it, and it's just like reignites something in you, and I think that that's really cool. Like I I don't have that experience, but I think it's really fun to see because you can like even as you're talking about it, like I can see you kind of brighten up when you talk about it.
Yeah, there's so many good memories that I've been able to have, and just thinking about where I started versus
Yeah.
where I am now. So there's so much more to go. I'm excited to keep developing as a rider and keep racing and keep riding and the whole bit.
So, are you still doing just like hair scrambles, or what kind of races do you do?
I started with hair scrambles. I started partway through a season, so it's not like I was trying to win. I was bad. Okay, I don't want to say I was bad because that's insulting to anyone else who was right there with me. But I was not. I was back mid pack.
Uh-huh.
Like if let's say there were 15 women, I think there was a race where I finished 11th out of
Mhm.
15 or like 7th out of 10. I think I got one
Yeah.
where I was 6th out of 13 and was like, oh my God, I was in the top half. I stopped racing hair scrambles and switched over to enduros
Mhm.
pretty quick. So it was 5 hair scrambles. I tried an enduro and I thought this was insane compared to hair scrambles and
Yeah.
way more technical. And it's offered through the same district in California. So it's the same District 36 runs the hair scrambles and the enduros. So
Yeah.
it was easy to switch. And then the following year, I committed to an entire season of enduros. And then I did the same thing the following year again, which was
Mhm.
2024. And now I'm doing the Enduro series again in 2025. I do cherry pick hair scrambles. There's something about it where it forces you to really find your speed
Mhm.
because you have other riders on the starting line with you. So it's a
Mhm.
lot more pressure. So I'll cherry pick hair scrambles, only the ones that I like the courses on. Usually the more technical ones are the ones that are more out in the woods. And so, yeah, but I'm enduro full. Like my season is enduro. My thing is enduro, not hard enduro. You will not find me. You will not find me at a hard enduro. I'll say that.
Oh, but why not?
I have one bike and I have one source of income, and I cannot. I just like I respect the heck out of people who do that or sign up or try it or
Yeah.
get through it clean, get through it thrashing their bikes. Mad respect regardless. I personally, I can, it hurts when I throw my bike onto something and the thought of being in a situation where I might cause real financial damage to my equipment is just not my thing. I also, I'm not, I don't believe I'm at the skill level where I could go through that course, any of those courses with confidence. I'm just simply not
Yeah.
there yet. And again,
Yeah.
everyone has a different sense of where they are, but for my comfort level, my skill level has not gotten to where my comfort level would be okay with doing one of those events.
Yeah. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. I'm very different and I'm older than you. I have also had a very different experience in life. And so for me, um like doing stuff like that is about the experience. So I'm doing a hard enduro this year. I do not have the skills to like get through the entire thing. My goal is to just make one checkpoint. Like that's it. If I can do that, I'm going to be the most ecstatic person in the world. But like I said, I look at things very different. I'm still a pretty new rider. I'm working on my skills. I'm building skills like every day almost. I'm on the bike. But I see it as like, if I don't go to a race and line up like at the hard enduro, I'm not going to know what it is that I need to work on to progress in that field, you know?
Yeah.
Because everything's different. It's all subjective. And I've ridden all over the country, and what's considered hard enduro in Maine is very different from what's considered hard enduro out here out west. So it's all just really interesting to me. So it's always fun to hear like different viewpoints from different people about like why they do or don't do different disciplines. So totally respect it. I'm just crazy. And that's something we always say on here is like that in order to dirt bike in general, you have to be just a little bit crazy, because when we're learning, every single one of us has fallen. Every single one of us has like had those moments where you have to like get up and pick up your bike a million times. You know, whether it's increasing your speed for racing or doing hard enduro, whichever. But when you're somebody who's into hard enduro, yeah, you have to have that like extra crazy level, like just a little bit.
I don't think I have it. I know a lot of
Yeah.
women who I race with that have that in different ways.
Yeah.
Some are speed demons and they like
Mhm.
throwing their bikes at things. I am not a speed
Yeah.
demon, nor do I like throwing my bike at things. Others are not speed demons, but they really want to just like sign up for all the events and do it all and see what happens. So I'm the odd one out, I think, of some of the women that I ride with for
Yeah.
not wanting to do that kind of thing. But yeah, everyone's different. Yeah, it's all about me
You see?
personally. It's not like I think people need to be a
Yeah.
certain level to do it or not. I
Your
don't
comfort.
I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So until I do, I'm not gonna sign up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. But is that something that you're even actually interested in one day?
No,
Like,
I don't think
no?
so. I,
Yeah.
no, I just I like I do like going faster.
Uh-huh.
Um, rather than not. I
Yeah.
also some of the enduros out in district are no joke. I mean, the one I did this last weekend was the most
Mhm.
technical course I've ever ridden, hands down.
Yeah.
Up at Shasta, they ran us through. It was raining. It was slick. They had people
Yeah.
posted on rock walls to pull bikes through. Um,
Wow.
everyone's talking about this one test section called Test 3. It was really gnarly. I loved it. I had a great time. But
Yeah.
there was carnage, people's bikes overheating, people flipping their bikes over, people stuck in mud where their tire was buried fully in. So it's not like I'm adverse to technical riding. I just, with hard enduro, the goal is to, I don't know if the course marshal or whatever the term is, they want to make it as difficult for people as possible. Like that's kind of the whole point. Mad respect, but that's a little too intimidating for me.
Yeah. No, it's really cool to hear that viewpoint. It's just uh it's different. And you know, I've really not been around a whole lot of women who do want to do hard enduro. A lot of women are just like, you're insane, I don't know why you want to even try that. It's a lot of the bike bashing and stuff like that people have that in their head, which I totally understand. But I think there's something to be said. You know, you really enjoy technical riding, it sounds like, and there's a lot of women that enjoy technical riding. Like, I can't tell you how many times in the last year I've heard, "Oh, I'm not a fast rider, I'm a technical rider." And it is always women. And I absolutely love it. But I think that we are drawn to riding like that because it's not about that whole like smashing your bike. Like, how many times have we all heard guys just be like, "Oh, just send it." And that's not always the answer. So, I think having those skills and building those skills is something that a lot of women focus on. Probably because we're smaller typically, and we have to maneuver our bikes a little bit differently than the guys do. So it's always fun to hear like a kind of a different perspective on things. I love that.
I did get lucky genetically. So I have height on my side, but it makes me I have extreme respect for women out there racing with me where they can't, they can't touch one foot down until they basically take the other foot off the peg. So
Yep.
no foot is on the peg. They have one down and they have one like floating. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me. So yeah, I think there's a lot of women that have to refine immediate, like right off the bat, learn the skills at a more refined level than a lot
Yeah.
of people do, because otherwise it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty sloppy rider. I am lazy. I will sit. I will put my feet out. My form is terrible. I don't care. My feet aren't pointing where they're supposed to. There's all kinds of stuff. I've heard it all. But yeah, I look at some of the women riding and I'm like, wow, that form is excellent. And look at their heels and their toes and, their posture and the whole thing. So yeah, I agree that there's a different approach I think female riders in general have to take when they learn how to ride. Because they can't just, I call it brute man strength, their way through things, where a dude's like stuck in a rut in an enduro and he's like, oh, and then he just lifts the bike out and then gets on. And the reality is most women aren't capable of doing that. So you have to learn the technique, or even just popping the front wheel, the amount of upper body strength and mass you have. When guys say, oh, you just compress the forks and just do a pivot turn. I'm like, hold up. No, like there's gotta be more strategy than that, because I have little noodle arms and I don't weigh 200 pounds. So
no, I'm 5 feet tall, so I totally resonate with everything that you just said. This last weekend, my friend goes, so if you just put your foot down over on the left and then you just like pivot turn to the left, and I just went, you're funny, because I was like, first of all, I would have to be able to pivot turn. Second of all, my foot would have to be able to touch the ground. And third of all, yeah, that's not happening. So I got to figure it out a different way.
I've definitely been there. People tell me to do something and I just go, nope. And then figure it out a different way.
Just do this is like my least favorite thing. Just pivot turn. Just do this. And I'm like, you guys, like, just put a foot down doesn't work for me. Like, I'm one of those people who has to be like off the bike to touch the ground. So it's totally different for me riding versus somebody who has a little bit more height. Dude, I wish that I could be like 5'2". I would kill for that extra couple inches.
I think I would panic and quit the sport if I woke up and I was 5'2". I'd have to
be the happiest person in the world. If I woke up, everybody in the world would know that I grew overnight. Like, oh my God, I would not shut up about it.
Well, mad props to you for getting out there and figuring it out.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm still working on figuring it out, but I try really hard. I mean, I didn't grow up doing this, and so like I didn't even grow up really doing sports or anything. So balance is not something that I've ever been known to have throughout my life. I was always like the really clumsy person. And so like I've spent a lot of time on like static balance and doing stuff like that to improve that, because I know that I'm starting at such a detriment. I'm a lot older than a lot of people who are riding and racing, and like I'm starting way behind everybody else. So people are like, you're working so hard and like you're on the bike like 5 days a week. I'm like, yeah, it's because like I have a long way to go just to catch up to zero. Like there's a lot of stuff that has to go into it.
My mom didn't start dirt biking until I think she was about 40 or 41 years old. And she rides every week. She's riding right now. My mother is out on the trails right now, as we speak, with her friend that she's been riding with for almost 20 years. They ride once a week together. And I won't say my mother's age out of respect, but she's been doing it for a long time, and it's totally normal to me and totally possible to me that I can be her age down the road and still be doing this at a fairly high level. So,
for sure. I knew some guys when I first started riding in Minnesota. I met some guys at one of the enduros, and one of the guys was like 72, and he was like up at the front of the A group, and I was like, holy crap. Like, he was insanely fast. So yeah, I definitely think that age, I mean, obviously there's like genetic things that could happen, but age is just a number. And for most people, like, there's a lot of people who are what everyone considers older and riding and being competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And at different levels too. I mean, even some of the guys winning the hard enduros now are much older than a lot of people thought, the top riders should be. I mean, it's very different.
Yeah.
I do think, motocross is a little bit different, but especially with trail riding, I think people are pushing it much further than what was thought normal or acceptable for athletes at that level.
Yeah. And I think just in general, athletes in general are older now in a lot of different sports. I mean, I still think that they're all really young when they end up retiring, but it's just like that's I understand that's a lot of strain to put on your body, like especially when you're doing it from such a young age. We were talking to Cody Webb a couple weeks ago, and he's talking about like he started riding trials when he was really young and everything. And we're talking about, because he's only a year older than me.
Yeah, he's from my town. His dad rode in my grandma's backyard, and some of his family members grew up with my dad's family. So I grew up hearing about Cody Webb when he was little, and he was winning trials championships and stuff like that. So small world, but yes, amazing rider.
But he started doing all that young. You started doing all of this young. That's a lot to put on your body. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do anything when I was young. Like, I tried to skateboard when I was in high school, but it didn't work very well, and I didn't have my own skateboard. So like, it was like, when I was at school, I would do it, but so I don't have like the wear and tear on my body that a lot of other people have. So I am starting out pretty fresh, even though I'm older than a lot of people. So, but it's just funny how like age really is just about what you've gone through. There's guys who are 30 and have broken their backs and feel like they're 80, and then there's guys who are 72, 73 and feel like they're 20. So
yeah, it just depends what happens. Luck to a certain degree, genetics to a certain degree, life getting in the way, all those kinds of things. But yeah, hopefully we're both doing it well into our whatever years.
Heck yes.
The 70 plus pioneer class. And nothing interferes with that.
Yeah, no, that'll be super awesome. So what do you do when you're like prepping for like racing and all of that? Like, are you strict to like fitness and nutrition and all of that, or do you just kind of like go about your day to day?
I'm more on the go about my day to day side. I will say fitness, I'm fairly strict. I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. It's hard during race season because I race enduros, and then for 2 or 3 days I'm just like moving around the house like a granny. But in an ideal week, I go at least 4 times. Nutrition, nothing. I have no tips. Nothing I do. It's probably bad. I would just objectively say I am not the healthiest eater. I don't drink soda. There's a number of things that I probably don't consume that I should be grateful I don't consume in general when you couple it with how I eat. But yeah, I'm not too strict about anything. I down a Pedialyte the afternoon before a race. That seems to help. I stretch. Yeah, those are my things. Stretching and Pedialyte. If I have two recommendations.
Stretching and Pedialyte.
For anyone.
I like that.
Stretching, Pedialyte. Yeah.
Hydration's important. So like electrolytes in general, that's kind of been something that it's a hotly debated topic. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because some people swear that you need to have electrolytes in your bag when you're racing or when you're riding hard. Like you have to have it. And then other people like me will do it before, and then I'll do them after if I feel like it after. But definitely like the couple days leading up to, like, if I know I'm doing a big ride, or if I know I have a race, then the days before I'll do it. Hydration starts, ideal hydration should be starting 5 days before the event.
Yes, I do drink a lot of water the whole week leading up, and I firmly believe in the whole you need your muscles and your body hydrated before you get on that starting line. When you drink water during a race, that's not even going to help you hydrate until 2 hours later. Like, there's nothing that can save you if you're dehydrated during a race. So the whole idea is hydrate beforehand. So yeah, we're in agreement there. I think that's the right approach. I don't want to say, oh, it's an opinion thing, but I'm like, science is science, and I think hydration is pretty important.
And everybody's different, right? So like every body is going to react differently. So I think that that's what comes down to, like, where the like debate kind of starts to come in. Those people who feel like they need it during a race, they're probably metabolizing things a lot differently than like I am, for example. I don't I sweat a lot. It's gross, but like I grew up in the desert, and I grew up not drinking a ton of water, and like that sounds absolutely terrible now that I'm saying it out loud, but like I just like I don't know. I didn't grow up downing water all the time, and it was just enough to keep me level. And as I've gotten older and gotten into like endurance sports, like cuz I was training for an ultra marathon and everything, when I was training, I can run 10 to 15 miles with no water. And it's not ideal. Most people should not do that, but that is what I'm comfortable with, because I don't like drinking water while I'm like moving around that much. It like makes me feel nauseous, and I feel more sick if I drink.
It's interesting you say that. I used to be a marathon runner. That was my thing.
Oh, really?
So, I did that all the way through college. Basically, COVID killed it. RIP. But I simply don't have time for it with all the riding that I do now and work. Nor do I necessarily miss it. My knees and my feet thank me every day. But I didn't like to drink while running either. I found even like one little cup of Gatorade or weird electrolyte liquid during a race would throw me off. So I had to do it beforehand. But yes, it's different for everyone. Some people were down in those handout cups like there's no tomorrow.
It's crazy. I also don't like to run with like anything on my back, so having a pack like really bothers me, and it annoys the crap out of me.
I never ran with a vest or a pack, and I did trail runs that were, I think the longest trail race I ever did was like only 18 miles. But I never ran with a pack. I always ran with one of those water bottles that straps on.
Oh, the hand ones,
the little ones, and I would lose all feeling in my hand because it was on so tight, and it would like my fingers would go to sleep. But that was the only way that I carried water. I thought people were crazy who wore the whole hydration system.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely hate it. So I've got a Usui bag, and that's a lot better. I had a Camelback before, and it wasn't designed for running, but I was using it for that, and it was just so annoying having it like thump on my back all the time. And I did this really long run in Maine where I was doing I did 27.8 miles, And it was like my first really big run, and I had been like kind of working up to it, but previous to that the most I had run was like 21 miles. And so I just decided I was going to run this it's like a whole path or whatever, and it's like from Sebago to the sea. So you go from the lake and you run all the way through these towns, through these really pretty areas, all the way to the ocean. And so I told myself I was going to do it, or essentially I was going to die trying, because I'm stubborn like that. And yeah, it happened to be one of the hottest days in the summertime. It was like 92 degrees. It was 90% humidity. It was absolutely disgusting. And I was like, I got out there and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, it's not for something. I don't have to be doing this, but I did it anyway. And yeah, I carried, I think it was a liter of water on me. And then I got to the, like a mile before the finish, there was a gas station. And I finally stopped at the gas station and I bought like a whole bottle of water and just downed it, because I was like just dead. That humidity was terrible. And the
Yep.
only thing that I did on that run that I think actually saved me was I did energy chews. And previous to that, I never really did that on my runs. But that run, I needed them.
I
Probably
did
because of the humidity.
I did goos, but I've never used
Oh yeah.
goo like the squeezy, the normal standard squeeze
Yeah.
it in and down it. But I haven't done anything like that ever for riding. I've never
Mm-hmm.
stopped at a transfer section and taken a goo or
Yeah.
anything like that. But running, I forgot about that. That was essential. I was taking
Mm-hmm.
a goo every, I don't know, 6, 7 miles, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I feel the water
Yeah.
gas station thing, because I've stopped in some very odd places to desperately buy water.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm out near the end of awful runs where it's hot and
It's
it's humid. That's
Yeah.
the only
It's
time.
always at the end, because like that's the thing. I was like, I only have a mile left, so like I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna down this water, I'm gonna be full and nasty, but I can puke at the end and I'm okay with that. Like
Yep.
so I got to the end and I had some friends that met me there, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm actually thinking about running back to my car." And they're like, "You're insane." And then I kind of like started walking and I was like, "Nah, I should probably get a ride, because that's a really long way." But
Running now and you're training for those kinds of events?
what was that? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second. It's probably my internet. I was just asking that you're still doing that now. You're training for endurance events and running now.
So in 2025, I've decided that I'm not going to do an ultra marathon. So last year I was supposed to do one in Tennessee in September, and that's what I was training for. And the hurricane happened, so it wiped out the trail system, so it didn't end up happening. There was just one a couple weeks ago that I was gonna do, but it's like $400 to enter it. And I was like, okay, well, I already run in this desert, so like it doesn't feel right to me to pay that much money to go run then with like a bunch of other people. And I not when I have so many races that I'm trying to get to this year. Like I'm going across the country several times this year to go to races on the East Coast and here on the West Coast and up north. And so it's just like, do I want to spend my money on dirt bikes, or do I want to spend it on running? Because those are both really expensive hobbies. A lot of people think, oh, running is super cheap, and it's not.
No, not at all.
But yeah,
Um,
so I'm training like I'm doing an ultra, um, just in case one pops up that I'm like, oh, that's a really good opportunity. Like I'm gonna just go for it. Um, but I'm not actually signed up or planning on doing anything. There's one in, I think it's in June in Wyoming, that I kind of want to do, but June is a very busy month, so we'll see.
Well, that's impressive, juggling two sports like that. And it's a whole nother tier of expense when you start talking about what you're doing. And I know people who do it too,
Mm-hmm.
going to these, they select these events that they're going to go to, and it's so expensive to, they're going up into Canada, they're going across the US, they're going up into Washington, and going to all these different places. And I've never raced anywhere but Central and Northern California. And to me, that's expensive. I'm like, oof, I gotta drive 4 hours and stay in a hotel for one night. So it gets very expensive very quickly.
It does. The longest I've ever driven for a race myself that I've actually raced was 24 hours. I went from Tennessee to North Dakota. And then I slept for about 7 or 8 hours. I raced the next day, and then I turned around and drove back, and I had to get back for work. And I got back like 10 minutes before work started. So then I had to go through an entire day of work before I could actually like rest.
Yeah, that's a different level. I won't call it crazy, but
oh, you can call it crazy. It's totally
people
crazy.
have different levels of crazy, and I am not at that level of crazy.
Yeah, I like to call myself dedicated. But like I said, I have a very different experience where this wasn't my life for the longest time. You know, I was married for 8.5 years, and you know, I was a wife, and I did all of that stuff. I didn't have kids, but you know, I was very much about that relationship and about that other person. And when that all ended, I decided to start doing stuff for me. And over time, as my confidence has grown, unfortunately, so has my travel, I guess, plans, to where now I'm not just traveling the US. Last year was traveling the US. I think I got to 47 states last year. This year is the US, and I'm going to be going overseas at least 2 times, if not 3. So, yeah. I am crazy. But I've got some really incredible goals, and I have, you know, things that I want to do in life, and I just figure I already know what it's like to be sidelined by my health. I was pretty much bedridden for like a year. And so, in case that ever happens again, I want to do as much as I can while I'm healthy. So, I have a very different way of looking at things than a lot of other people.
Yeah, I respect that. I think everyone should just do what they got to do. Sometimes I wish I was more adventurous in that way, but we'll see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, I'll be traveling like that and riding in all these different places.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's so fun. And like I have a lot of people who tell me like that it's really inspiring. I'm so lucky. And I'm like, I work my butt off. I don't like just magically get to do this. Like I work really, really hard at a day job, and then at side jobs. Like I've taken over the last couple years, I've taken like DoorDash, and I've, you know, babysat and worked on people's cars and anything that I can do to just kind of help with all of this. So I don't just kind of like sit around. There's a lot of training, but then there's a lot of, okay, how can I make this happen, and figuring it out. So it doesn't just magically appear on a money tree.
Oh yeah.
As much as I wish.
I understand that. Something goes wrong with my bike, and I immediately go, okay, how much will this cost? How much is like how many hours of labor would this cost to fix? Can I do it myself?
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to.
It does. It does. Dirt
everything.
bikes are really expensive. Just maintenance on them, and then like you said, hard enduro. Now that I'm starting to get into it, things have broken on my bike. This weekend, I broke things on my bike that I have to replace, and I'm like, okay, that's this much money, and then I already bought tires, so that's that much money, and then I've got to buy this, and that's that much money, and just it adds up very, very quickly. So totally get that side of it.
What's your next race?
I'm actually gonna be doing a hare scramble in a couple weeks. So there's a hare scramble in southern Arizona. It's called the Copper Classic. It's been going on for like I'm gonna misquote this, but it's like 76 years or something like that. It's been a really long time. And it's every year in southern Arizona. I came down here from Minnesota a couple years ago on my little TTR 125 because I was going through the divorce and I was like, I want to race, but I want to race somewhere that my ex wasn't because he was racing at the hare scrambles in Minnesota. And so I'm from Arizona originally. So I drove out there and my excuse was to see my family and I just brought my bike is what I said. But I did it and it was the only race that I've ever finished. So now I've got the new bike and some new skills, so I'd like to do it again and kind of see how that one goes. And now I know a bunch of the women who are racing down there, and they're some badass ladies. So I do not expect to be on the podium, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I didn't think I'd ever be on a podium when I started racing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I did a random race in Texas in December. I was down there for work and my friend asked me to come to the they have you can ride the track the day before down there, and she's like, just come to it and you can come and ride with me, and I was like, okay, cool. And we got there and I did the track and I was like, this is a really cool course. I was like, I really like this. She's like, you should just sign up and do it. So that's what ended up happening, and it was a GP style race, which I had never done. I didn't know what it was, but it was really, really fun. And I was just kind of taking it easy because I was like, I don't, I'm not competitive, or I've never been at a point where I could be competitive, rather. So I wasn't pushing as hard as I could have. And then the results came out and I was only 6 seconds off of third. And I was like, oh, so if I had actually tried, I could have gotten a podium. So yeah, I'm like, I want it. So we'll see. I know it's not going to happen for hard enduro. Like the women that ride hard enduro are badass, and there's just no way. But it can happen at the hare scramble or at one of the GPs or something. I'm just trying to go to as many different races in different areas. I know people all over the country. Last year, like I said, I traveled so much. People want me to come to this race and that race, and so I'm just racing all over the country.
yeah, it's about that mindset. I definitely had a switch my first season. I didn't really care about winning. I felt like I was trying my hardest, but it wasn't until I got that first plaque, I should say, where I went, oh, I can do this. And then the mentality shifted. I'm a very different racer now than I was when I started. I used to be like, oh, I'm so happy. I just show up and the women are just like, oh, hey, you're here. That's nice. And I don't want anyone to think anything of me. And it's definitely different now. But you just get the experience and your mindset shifts, and how you view your riding and how you view the other people out there. Because I do a series, so you start to get to know people and you see new people come in and you see people leave, and you feel more confident and like you're a part of it, at least on the series level, when you start running these events more than once.
Yeah, that's really cool. I haven't really had the advantage of being able to ride in the same place very often. because I travel so much. It's usually every 3 months to 4 months, I'm in a different area of the country. And so, like, just when I'm starting to get used to a trail system, or, I did a race and then now I'm in a different part of the country and it's all completely different. So I think that's kind of cool that you can get used to that kind of thing, and really it lets you get comfortable with certain like types of obstacles and things like that. And I think there's a huge advantage to that. I definitely think there's an advantage to being jumbled around like I've been as well. I've ridden a lot of different terrain, that I think has helped me progress pretty quickly for what my skill set is. But I definitely think that being in the same kind of like the races, you have an idea of what you're going into. Um, I I almost never do. So I think that's a big advantage.
Yeah, I think, yeah, there's differences. It's like you never really know what a course is going to be, but I do believe there is an advantage to having done events in the past.
Mhm.
It's just something that's there, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that someone can't win or can't do well or can't feel like they rode amazingly well if they're doing the event for the first time or they've never even
Yeah.
ridden that kind of terrain before.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's really interesting. So what's your favorite race that you've done so far?
Ooh. I
We ask
don't,
the tough questions.
yeah, I don't know if I have one.
Mhm.
There's ones I like more than others, and there's ones that I don't want to say shit talk, but I have beef with certain events. Um, the enduros, most of them are just fun. They're into
Mhm.
such different terrains.
Mhm.
They're all over Northern California, and every place is really different.
Mhm.
They're moving locations, meaning 30 minutes down the road, but it's a completely different set of trails. So who knows? So I don't want to hype it up for this year. But there's an enduro called the Wild Horse out in Nevada.
Uh-huh.
People either hate it or they love it. It's the only enduro in the series that's run in Nevada,
Okay.
and it's 80 plus miles of basically, it's all desert, and
Mhm.
it's fast. And then they'll throw you, so you're just on whoops or really fast desert trails, and then they'll throw you into like a canyon, going down a ravine or something, and you're only doing it for a quarter mile, but
Yeah.
it's gnarly, and then you pop out the other side and you keep going, and it's really it's a speed race more than anything
Mhm.
else. And I grew up doing desert riding,
Mhm.
so I really like it. I'm on my bike's a 4-stroke. I'm not saying 2 strokes can't go fast, but all the champions in my series are on 4 strokes.
Mhm.
It's just the way it is. And so I love being able to open it up out in the desert. Some people hate it. I am friends with people that hate, they despise the desert racing.
Mhm.
But I don't know. It's different than all the others. So I don't know if it's my favorite race, but it's definitely one that stands out.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I like that. Well, what's your least favorite then? Now I'm interested. Or
Ooh,
or at
Wilseyville.
least say
Wilseyville. It's Wilseyville. I'll say
okay.
it. I'll say it. It's Wilseyville. It's all Wilseyville. It's it's
Oh,
Wilseyville is the race that my district promotes as the coolest one and the best
uh-huh.
one. It's a short course. It's run on private property, and it's run by a club that has a lot of influence in my district.
Mhm.
So it gets a lot of
Uh-huh.
promotion. This year,
Mhm.
they only started running it as an enduro 2 years ago, and I don't know why it's an enduro. It's been a hare scramble for many years. Now, I don't have anything personally against the hare scramble. They still run it every year. I
Mhm.
ran it one year when it was a hare scramble, but they
Mhm.
decided, oh, you know how we can make more money? We can do the same thing, but we can make it an enduro, and we can hold it for 2 days, because why? Like, all the other races are one day. It's one
Yeah.
enduro, it's one event. But
Uh-huh.
Wilseyville wanted 2 days because they wanted money. So
Yeah.
they, so if you're chasing the series and you're an enduro rider, and then you learn that you have to do a 30-mile race, which is 10-mile loops repeated 3 times. It's not even like
Mhm.
2 15-mile loops. It's the same 10 miles 3 times. And then you have to do it 2 days. You know, I don't know. I felt very jaded by the whole thing. It's
Mhm.
kind of pretty. There's a lot of single track, but it's
Mhm.
also whooped out and just torn up because it's not public trails. There's no club or anything that really, I don't know, I don't want to say grooms, but the trails
Yeah.
down. So it's thrashed. Like, you know, when you're getting onto a part that's part of the hare scramble course, you go, oh yeah, they definitely run the hare scramble here. And then they'll take you for the enduro. They do make it harder. They did cut single track through, you know, bushy areas where all of a sudden you're on
Yeah.
fresh cut stuff. And for
Mhm.
that, I appreciate it. I appreciate that at least, but most of it's just repeating what the hare scramble um, does. I also will say, there are other people who will back me up on this. Wilseyville last year, and I'm sorry for anyone who might be listening and associated with Wilseyville, but it was the worst marked race I have ever done. And
Oh.
I've done like 30 plus something races at this point, which is not that many compared to some people.
Yeah.
Hands down, the worst marked course was Wilseyville. And I don't believe that trying to figure out where you even are or where the course is supposed to be like part of the challenge of an enduro. Like, you should know where you're going. And many
Mhm.
people had no idea where we
Oh,
were going.
no.
I would see like a kid pop up out of the trees and look at me through the caution tape, and then he would start doing like a U-turn and go back into the trees. And I thought, how did that happen? And then 15 minutes later, I'm like, oh, this is how it happened. And I was in the exact
You're
same
like, "I'm doing the exact same thing
same
now."
thing. Yeah. Or there was a turn that got knocked over or something. And all of a sudden
Uh-huh.
I find myself riding into like this cabin area. And I thought, oh, this is not right. Like, there shouldn't be buildings here. So I turned
Yeah.
around. And of course, as I'm ripping back, there's other people going out
That are
doing the
going
same
down.
thing.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah. And there was
That's
also a
sketchy.
section, everyone cut course on this one section. I don't want to say everyone, a lot of C riders cut
Yeah.
course because there was an arrow that they placed way too late. So the single
Uh-huh.
track cut off this way, and the arrow was basically after the junction. And I don't know if there were other arrows that got knocked down. I think they had caution tape, like one
Oh, yeah,
piece of
yeah.
caution tape. And the minute one bike goes through, you're never
Mhm,
going to
then it's
spot
gone.
the dirty mud covered caution tape ever again that's on the ground. So many bikes like cut out a whole trail. I caught it, so I actually stopped and then went through the trees after the junction and dropped onto the
Uh-huh.
trail. But yeah, Wilseyville, I have beef. I don't think this year it's also 2 days. It's being run as the ISDE qualifier.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Last year, Shasta was the ISDE qualifier,
Mhm.
which was the enduro I just ran.
Yeah.
They had to dumb down the course at Shasta last year and make it easy
Yeah.
because it was the ISDE qualifier, which I thought was really
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what Wilseyville has to do
Is
to
like
appease AMA. Yeah, for that event. But it's also 2 days. At least they kind of have a reason. I'll give
Uh-huh.
them that because it has to be 2 days. I think it might be 3 days for the ISDE guys, but yeah, just not a fan, despite other people
When is
loving.
that race?
I think
Like,
it's in March. Oh,
okay, so coming up.
yeah, in middle of March. Let me look at
Okay.
my calendar. It would be the 15th and the 16th of March is going to be the Wilseyville and Enduro and the district, or the US ISDE qualifying races.
Interesting. That's the weekend after my race.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at least it'll be cool to see some of the pros out there
Yeah.
um, who only show up for these kinds of events because they're hoping to qualify.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little different, a little bit of a different crowd, but I won't be anywhere near those people when they're racing. Of course, they'll be sent out first thing on all the laps. So I'm not saying it's a bad event. It's just my least favorite. That's all.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yep.
No, I love that. You got so animated. I was like, whoa.
Well, a lot of people, you know, they don't want to talk bad about Wilseyville because it has a long history and people love to hype it up. I see people wearing their Wilseyville hair scramble merch, but when it comes to the enduro, it's a different story, and I have my opinions there. So
yeah. Well, is there anywhere in the country that you would want to go, whether it's to just trail ride or to race, anywhere in the country?
Oh, I mean,
have you ever thought about it?
I haven't really thought about it that much. I think the reason I don't think about it that much is because I don't plan on doing long road trips or anything to get somewhere that takes more than a day. So to be honest, I don't spend my time daydreaming about something that I don't actually want to do at the moment. But I know that there's amazing riding up in Oregon. I know there's amazing riding up in Washington. For me, a big part of it is realistically, I think, oh, there's amazing riding. And then I go, oh, but the drive. And then I go, oh, the weather, you know, like it rains up there a lot. And I can ride in the rain. I've raced in rain and snow and hail, but if I had to drive that far just to have it dump on me the whole time, I'd be pretty bummed. But yeah, it'd be cool to get up to Oregon and Washington at some point, maybe, and do some riding. Utah's amazing, but I go there. It's only a day drive away to get to the St. George area. By a day, I mean 12 hours, but still a day. And that's amazing riding. I've ridden Moab a couple times in my life, so I can't throw out Moab. But yeah, I wish I knew about more places. I know too, there's supposed to be great riding up in Idaho in the Sawtooth Mountains. But so far, no official bucket list of places to go ride.
All right. So then the next question after that is usually, if you had an unlimited budget, everything's paid for, where would you want to go in the world to ride?
Oh,
that one's a hard one. That's a hard one for people who really normally do think about these things. So
yeah, I really don't think about it. I will say my mom goes on these adventure bike tours in places like India and Nepal, and she's where else has she been? South America, Bolivia, Peru. But I don't really I'm not interested in the adventure bike travel aspect of things. Man, I'd have to see a video of a trail where I thought I want to specifically to ride that trail, because if I'm going to travel somewhere to ride, it needs to be for the riding, not because I want to go there for any other reason, like, hiking or the culture. Otherwise, I would just travel there. Man, that's a tough one.
It is.
I'm sure there's a lot of amazing trails, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to throw out a false answer. But yeah, I don't know.
You're a very calculated person.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't thought of international riding trips. I know a lot of people who do. They have these like bucket lists of places they want to go and things they want to do. I will throw out, I'm pretty spoiled with how I got to grow up. I traveled internationally a lot as a kid. And not fancy, like on a somewhat budget, like, there were sometimes hostels and staying with locals and that kind of thing. But I'm fortunate to have seen a lot of the world. So I think as an adult, it has somewhat tampered that sense of like, I need to go out and see the world. I'm like, I've seen it. Like there's specific places there's specific places I'd want to go back to maybe, or that I haven't been to yet. Like I want to go to Australia to go diving.
Yeah.
I'm diving certified, so I'd love to do that at some point. But yeah, I haven't thought about dirt bikes. Again, I think you're like what you said. I go, oh my gosh, the logistics of getting a dirt bike over there. And like I have great trails here, and like the expense of
Yeah.
renting a dirt bike is insane. So then my mind just never goes there. I guess I can ask you, where do you want to go internationally to ride?
It changes day to day. It literally does. I was just talking to my friend earlier today. She just moved to Costa Rica, and she said that they're getting their her husband does adventure bike tours, but he also dirt bikes. He was a pro motocross guy on the East Coast, but now he does like enduro riding and stuff. So he's like figured out some trails, and he knows that I like hard enduro, so he's found some trails that he was like, they were sending me videos, and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. And I'm like, all right, what's the soonest I could get to Costa Rica? Like maybe in like 3 weeks. And but I could only go for the weekend, so if I want to go longer, it'll have to be like a couple months. And so yeah, we'll see what it is tomorrow. But as of today, the answer is Costa Rica. Last week, it was Iceland all the way. Yeah, there's just so many places that I want to go. I have the benefit of knowing people who travel for races all over the world. And so I get to see races all over, and then I get to see different trails that people go on. I get to see those videos. So I've seen trails in Iceland, I've seen trails in Brazil and Australia and places like that. So it's really cool because that for me is what sets off like the wanderlust, is like seeing the amazing dirt biking that can happen. Because I spend a lot of money on my riding and my travel in the US, so my travel overseas is going to have to be pretty budgeted. So I don't think that I'll be traveling for like just to go somewhere anytime soon. If I go, it's going to be for riding or a race. So that's my big thing. I'm not big on like museums and stuff like that. I love history. So I would love to, like, if I ever get to like around Germany and stuff like that, there's places that I want to go in Europe, learn about the culture, but dirt biking is the priority.
Yeah, dirt biking is the priority. I feel that on a smaller scale, but I definitely feel that. My mom has the travel bug still. She's everywhere. She goes off on these adventures by herself. So I'm definitely around that. I did not inherit that bug from her. So I don't know what happened there. My wallet thanks me for it. I can say. But yeah, the dirt biking is still expensive on the local scale.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's expensive in general, but definitely when you're doing trail riding, it seems like we're breaking things all the time. I mean,
yeah,
trees just randomly pop up. It's like
oh yeah,
it wasn't supposed to be there.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Even a couple years ago, my dad had talked about when I was growing up. He used to lead tours down in Baja a long time ago,
Yeah.
and he was talking about, someday we can go down to Baja.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like that seems cool. Get to go down to Baja with my dad and ride some of the trails there. But the reality is that a lot of the properties that he was traveling through with his groups are private, and there is no knowledge base of whether or not the gates and those ranchers who used to have gates and leave their properties open, if you can even cross them anymore,
And
anything
still,
like that. So
yeah.
you can't just have the tracks from 20 years ago and go ride that.
Yeah.
And we looked into some tour options because there are some guided trips down there. But the minute I saw the dollar signs attached, I was just like, shut it down. We're shutting it down. We will never speak of this again. It's done. Like it's gone. And, so,
yeah.
but my dad and I have had amazing adventures since then. So I don't regret not going there or have any desire to go down there. But that was like my one attempt that I ever made to travel for riding, and it lasted all of an hour on the internet. So yeah, but one of my closest friends, she wants to go to Iceland
Yeah.
for riding and some other places. She's been up to Canada to ride as well. So yeah, I get it. It's just, I guess people either have it or they don't.
Yeah. I think it's really smart, though. You really think about things. I'm a lot more impulsive. If, I have friends that are like, hey, come across the country this weekend. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Might as well. So I just do it. It's just, I don't know. I see things from a very different perspective. But like I said, I really enjoy hearing about different ways of thinking. I study psychology for fun because I'm a nerd. So like seeing different viewpoints and hearing different perspectives is actually really intriguing to me. So this is really cool because like we still have like a lot in common, even though we look at things
yeah, it's interesting
from a
to
completely different viewpoint.
Sorry, you cut out for a second there. Yes, I think I heard the majority of that. If I interrupted you for a little bit, I apologize. It was because you went quiet. Yeah, I think it's interesting just how different people approach it. There's so many people who ride, but there's so many different ways that people can have riding impact or be woven into their life and their lifestyle. It's not.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like a one sport. It's like so many different branches of it, from the track people to the hard enduro people, hare scrambles, sprint enduros, adventure biking, road racing. Yeah, it's just crazy how many variations, flat track, how many variations of it there are. So definitely a lot of overlap with at least, the trail riding that we both do, but different approaches to like what we want to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that sometimes we have a little bit of that overlap, right? And I have found lately that more women who ride GNCC are actually interested in hard enduro, which seemed like very strange to me, but I've recently been in touch with some ladies who are GNCC riders, and it's a group of like 6, I think now, who all want to do hard enduro this year. So I'm doing this thing with, I don't know if you know about Tennessee Knockout. It's like one of the bigger hard enduros here in the US. And this year I'm trying to help get a women's, like, essentially like a temporary team together. We're going to have the most women, or we're trying to have the most women who've ever entered the event this year. So I think the record is like 7. So we're already at that with just our group, plus the women who usually go, which is like 4 or 5 of them. So my goal is to try and get closer to 20 women entering this year, total, not just with like my little group, but just in general, just trying to get women to try it, if they're interested. It's not like oh my god, you have to. And not everybody's going to be interested, and I know that. It is, like we said, it's very different. You have to have a certain mindset, all of these different things. But I just think it's really cool to try and, I guess, give confidence to the women, who've thought about it. There's people like me. When I started riding, people straight up told me, you're never going to ride hard enduro. You're too small. You're never going to get off of your 125. Like, all of these negative things. And just in case there's people like that out there, there's women like that out there, rather, I want to be that voice to show them, like, you can be small. You can do all of these things. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It takes a lot of hard work, but I want to be that support for them. So TKO is like the time this year in August. But I try and do that for like everything. Doesn't matter if it's a trail ride. This weekend I was out on a trail ride and we had a girl who is pretty new riding, and I was just like trying to give her a couple pointers and just trying to, cheer her on, and she did really, really good. Sorry, California has some gnarly trails, and maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I would have probably said no to a couple of those sections, and she did them. She struggled on them, but she did them, and it was really, really cool to see her do it. That was super inspiring to me, and so I take that and I like turn around and I try and give that inspiration off to other people. So that's my whole thing.
Yeah, that's admirable. I am pretty selective. And again, my closest friend that I ride with, she'll ride with, I mean, I don't want to speak for her. If you're watching this, you know who you are. She'll ride with almost anyone. Like,
Yeah.
if a rider invites her on a ride and she kind of knows them, or she knows someone who knows them, or she'll go. And she's much more open to that and meeting people through that. And I'm a lot more introverted and very selective and very protective with who I ride with. So I don't get to meet quite as many people unless it's at the races, in between laps or something. So it's cool that there's people who get to go out and do these big group rides, or like get to see like all the different levels of riders on one ride together. I've led some group rides, but it's very different. It's like, we are going 60 miles. This is point A, this is point B. You're responsible for your own crap. Like, here we go. And they have to be invited on the ride and the whole thing. So, but yeah, I wish sometimes I was more open to riding with other people, or to driving to ride with other people. But I also, I am invited by strangers on rides all the time. So, I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, there's a number of factors playing into that. One being my channel, one being the fact that I'm a female, so I have to like question people's motives. And if I don't know someone, it's a hard no.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you said that, because that's something that's recently come up. I never had any question of motives previous to a couple months ago. I was kind of like your friend, and just, I pretty much will go ride with anybody if I have some semblance of them being a real person that's inviting me out. The one time, the most sketchy thing I will do, quick tangent, I lost my grandfather in November, and I needed to go ride. I was new to this area. I had no idea what the trails were like or anything. So I posted on a Facebook group that I had been part of for a while. And I was like, if anyone wants to meet up, I want to ride tomorrow, this time to this time. I don't care where, just tell me where to be. And one person responded. And so I just met this random dude off the internet in the middle of the desert. And thankfully it turned out okay. But
you're not dead.
It could have been sketchy. But I mean, like, I have a GPS tracker, like my family knew where I was going, like all these different things. Like I was like, this was on a public forum on Facebook. So like, if I go disappearing, there's a bunch of people who are going to know he's the last person to be seen with me. And so like, there was, there's safety to it. But I've also ridden alone a lot, and I hate riding alone. It's scary. It's not fun. So when I get the opportunity to ride with people, then I get really excited. You love it because you're riding in the same areas though, right?
Not necessarily. I did a ride up in Tahoe on a Black Diamond Trail called Prosser Hill. If anyone knows where that is, super fun, gnarly, got some switchbacks, but beautiful view. Look, I had cell the whole time.
Yeah.
My mom was hiking. We were on the trip together. She was off hiking. She knew where I was. She had cell the whole time.
Yeah.
But I really I love it. And I think it's the best way for me to feel like I can just train how I want or do what I want.
Uh-huh.
But again, it's a comfort thing. I think 2 years ago I would never want to ride by myself. I would think that was crazy, but I have enough bike mechanic knowledge. I have enough.
Mhm.
I feel like my riding ability is solid enough that if I go into a national forest and the trail says Black Diamond, I'm like, how bad can it be? Here we go. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just a different. Obviously, I'm very calculated though. I'm not just going to go off into the wilderness with no one knowing where I am. But yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
the difference in mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
is
I think too it comes down to confidence, right? Like you said, a couple years ago you wouldn't have done that. But I haven't really had a choice. It was either I go off and I ride by myself or I don't ride for
yeah,
it would have been probably like 5 months that I wouldn't have been able to ride just because I didn't have anybody to ride with. So, a lot of what I do when I'm alone is training. It's not anything like super gnarly. I'm not doing hard enduro most of the time until more recently when I did get comfortable. Now I'm starting to hit some like bigger obstacles and stuff when I'm by myself because I do feel more comfortable with it. Um but yeah, it's just I guess it is a different mindset and just being comfortable with your abilities. Um I don't think I'd go out on a Black Diamond trail by myself, but I don't have that much seat time either. So I get visually intimidated by things, and if I don't have somebody who I feel I could fall back on, sometimes literally, um, then I just get a little bit more cautious. And that's when I become the calculated one, and I'm like, okay, I would hit this if I was with somebody else, but right now that's a pretty scary thing. So the advantage that I have right now is that all of these trails are close to my house, and so like within maybe 3-minute drive in a vehicle. So it's a lot further, right, on a dirt bike because you're going all over the place, but straight to me it takes a couple minutes. So if I go down, I've got my GPS. An ambulance can get to me within minutes. My landlord can get to me. So it's pretty safe out here in some respects. So I am starting to do more stuff alone again because I do find it more enjoyable to train by myself when I don't have to sit there and wait for somebody else to finish with an obstacle or something that I really want to do. I want to just hit it as many times as I can in the time that I have. So I do kind of understand that mentality as well.
yeah. I think I'm still very calculated. I enjoy getting to ride alone. It's very
Yeah.
it's very therapeutic. If I feel
Yes.
comfortable with where I am, if I'm like I'm not going to die for sure, then in some ways it's a much more enjoyable experience.
Mhm.
Not dissing anyone that I ride with. Of course, I appreciate all the people I ride with, which is not that many, but I appreciate them. So yeah, it's just a different mindset. And yeah, like you said, as you build your skills, you build the confidence to go out there on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like a certain amount of time by myself for like it's just me and my bike. I do love that. I mean, especially as a woman, I don't think there's anything else that gives you more confidence than that, right? Like that's my personal opinion at least.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if I have the same confidence mantra on the bike, and part of it might be because I grew up riding,
Yeah.
and so to me, it's just I love it. I love riding,
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty. I think watching back footage can gives me confidence sometimes. I was like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it went. Because sometimes I remember things going horribly wrong, and then I watch the footage and it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
But
I
more
don't know
often than
that.
not, the GoPro just flattens everything out, and I want to
Yeah.
delete the files. But yeah, it's just a great hobby, and I'm very fortunate to still be able to do it and to take part in it. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about my attitude towards dirt biking. I'm just grateful that it's in my life, regardless if I'm riding with others or alone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. I've been able to meet a lot of really amazing people through it, and through now this podcast too. It's really cool to be able to connect with people like you. A year ago, I would not have even reached out to you on social media. I would have been so scared. I was so introverted and so anxious, and just not really, like, I always felt like I was bothering people. And then I realized that we're all into the same thing, and like it's just making a connection, and like I said, finding out those different viewpoints, finding out different things about. I don't have a ton of experience in hare scrambles and enduros. I've done like 2 enduros and 1 hare scramble like ever. So, it's cool to hear that stuff, and it makes me want to try more of them. Um my whole life isn't hard enduro, contrary to popular belief. I want to try a lot of things on bikes, but it's just hard enduro is the thing that I've wanted to do the most for the longest time. So that's typically what most people hear about, but
Yeah, you got to have a
but like,
goal.
yeah, for sure.
I
But
watched
I did
footage.
that.
Oh, you go.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I watched footage of hard enduro riders, and I'm like, I don't know how to ride. I should just sell my bike and quit right now because I do not know how to ride a dirt bike. Oh my gosh. So I see people at my own
I do the
local
same
races,
thing.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to ride. Or you feel like you're
I've,
going so fast. You're like, you're just flying. Like I'll be out in
yeah.
the desert. I remember distinctly at Wild Horse last year, I must have been going at least 50 miles an hour through a whoop section. So I was
Yeah.
just hitting these whoops, and I thought, I am so fast. I could not go any faster. I was like in 3rd gear with the rev limiter going because I was not about to shift up to 4th, but that was my comfort. And then a guy passes me like I might have been going the other way. I was like, nope, never mind. I don't know how to ride. I'm not cool. I'm not fast. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to overcome those feelings.
See, I just always think of myself as somebody who's so new still. Even though it's been a couple years, I still have that mentality that like I'm new, and I don't consider myself fast at all. And then I did, like I said, that GP. I had so much fun with that. It's a very different style. I definitely will never be probably riding that quickly in a hard enduro situation. But I absolutely love to ride with other people and have them be like that, because as much as I kind of get that, like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing sort of thing, I also watch how people ride, and like I pick things up from watching them and how they do things, how they hit specific obstacles, and like then I start asking questions. And I've had the good fortune of riding with a lot of like really high level people in hard enduro. And so it's been really cool to see that. It's kind of a detriment at the same time being such a new rider, because spending so much time with these people, I see the lines that they take, and that's kind of how I started reading lines. That was all when I was so new to trail riding. And so sometimes I see lines, or I'll attempt to take a line that, I'm like, okay, that's what it is. Like I should be taking that line up the hill. And my friends are like, what the hell did you choose that? That's the hardest line that there is on that hill. There's like 8 other lines you could have taken. And I'm like, I don't know, that just seemed like the best one. Like a lot of the times I make it. I don't know how, but I do. And it's like, it's scary, but I think that goes back to the confidence thing. I have way too much confidence on the bike for my skill level. I don't know what it is about my bike, but when I'm on it, I feel like I can do anything. I know that I can't. I don't have those skills yet, but there's been so many times where I tell myself, what's the best that can happen? And I see myself doing it, and then I do the thing, and I'm just like, yes, like, the world can't get any better than this. Like, that's just my favorite thing.
I've had that feeling when I think about something and I execute it and then I make it through. Same feeling. I feel like that's across the board, probably for everyone. I will say I am
Yeah.
different in the sense that I look at everything and I go, that can kill me. That might kill me. My wheel's going to slip out there. Like, I don't know what's around that corner. I'm very aware of and reactive to anything that I think might cause me to hit the ground, which when racing is everything. And so I don't know how I do it, honestly, but I'm definitely not out there with that kind of confidence. But I think more riders have it than not. You got to have that sense of like believing you can do it. So, I mean, I know I can do it. I just think everything's going to kill me. that's the difference.
It's such a contradictory mindset, but I mean, if it works for you, it's obviously kept you pretty safe. You know, when you have Jeeps flying around the corner at you.
Oh, that was not me. That was my dad, and he was on the wrong side of the road, and I told him that 60 seconds before it happened. My last communication was, please don't ride over there. It makes me uncomfortable. And then, what do you know? So yeah, simple things, people stay on the right side of the road, at least in the US. He was fine though. He was totally fine. He didn't even fall over. When that hit him. I endoed and was fine as well. So crashing doesn't scare me. Yeah, crashing doesn't scare me. I crash, all the time, but it's that thought that if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not reacting to everything, that I could have that crash that does actually injure me, is always in the back of my mind. Especially when it seems like everyone around me gets injured. And I'm just like, my time hasn't come, but it will. Like, I don't, I'm trying to delay it as much as possible.
Yeah, I kind of understand that for sure, because I fell down a mountain in December. I fell like 25, 30 feet down a mountain, and it was the only part where it was like actually kind of a cliff. The rest of it, if I had fallen in any part, it was like kind of a gentle slope. It was only that section that it was just like a steep drop. And that was where my rear tire hit a rock that decided it didn't want to be embedded into the ground anymore, and it just flipped out and it chucked me over the edge. So everyone thought I was dead. Because they just saw me disappear over the edge, and they saw my bike and me tumble. Yeah, I popped right back up. I dislocated my thumb and my middle finger, but I didn't know it until a couple days later when they finally popped back in. I knew they were hurting, but I didn't realize they were dislocated. But yeah, I was like, how do I get my bike back up to the trail? And they were like, I can't believe you're okay. So a guy had fallen off of that exact same part of the trail the year before, and he apparently broke like 3 ribs and might have broken his neck. I don't know. I keep hearing from some people that he did, some people he didn't. He broke his arm, he broke his leg. He got life flighted out, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's just this like 10-foot section where there's a cliff, and everything else, like I said, it's just bad luck in that spot. but it really, like, kind of jarred me for all of 20 seconds, where I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't actually really gotten seriously hurt riding yet," and I was like, "I could have just totally just killed myself." And then I was like, "But I wanna keep going." So I got my bike up, we were supposed to be meeting for lunch because it was, like, a set ride, and, a bunch of people helped me get my bike back into order because, like, the chain was messed up and the rear axle had come loose because of how hard it hit when it fell, and, like, my guards were all messed up, my handlebars were bent, like, there was a lot going on, but everybody was really cool. They helped me out. They got my bike back in working order, and I rode another 20 some miles after that. So, um, and since then, I've had a little bit of an issue with exposure, but at the same time, every time I get scared, I'm like, I didn't actually really get hurt though. So what am I afraid of? So, but it's exactly like you said. I'm like, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it keeps happening to people around me. And it's only a matter of time before it is me. So it's kind of like, uh, I should probably be a little bit more cautious, but I have health insurance now. I didn't last year. I rode all last year with no health insurance. So
Dang.
I'm like, at least I have that now.
Yeah, that was another element. Can't afford the medical bills or the
Hmm.
bike damage. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone obviously is trying to be as safe as they can, but
Hmm.
especially racing, when you add speed
Yeah.
into the mix, it gets a lot sketchier. So I try and just, yeah, be on the lookout all the time, like just
Yeah.
constantly scanning for anything. Like if I think the trail even looks slick, I slow down or I shift
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still crashed this last weekend a few times, but
Yeah.
the most, 99% of the time you just pop back up
Yep.
and keep going. Um, so it does, yeah, it doesn't really rattle me too bad, but just
That's
I'm a
good.
very cautious. I'm a cautious rider. I always have been. I don't understand why I race, given my my cautious approach to everything. But yeah, I love it. I just love the community. Maybe I wouldn't love it if I raced a different series somewhere
Hmm.
else, but I'm very fortunate to live where I live. California, I truly believe, has the best riding in the country. Um, we just have the most of it. Like,
Yeah.
that's just the reality. There's so many different places you can ride. Uh,
Hmm.
and so getting to race around California is amazing. The people are amazing. Um, yeah, I'm just very, very lucky that way. And the people I've gotten to meet who have pushed me to be a better rider is just like, it's by chance. And yeah, I'm just very lucky to be able to ride with the people that I do.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, if you could give advice to somebody who's brand new to dirt bikes, what would be your best advice for them?
Just focus on the little improvements. Don't
Mhm.
think that you have to be a speed demon out the gate. If you think that, you will get hurt. It will not end well. So just focus on the little things, clutch
Yeah.
control, throttle control, but there's also no need to watch a bunch of YouTube tutorials and do drills for hours. I mean, just go out and ride and figure
Mhm.
out maybe what you don't feel confident with and what you do feel confident with. Try and find people to ride with if you're new, because you get
Yeah.
better by riding with better riders.
Mhm.
And yeah, just enjoy the trails. Just be outside and enjoy the trails, honestly. Find some good trails and some pretty scenery. That's why I still love riding. It's why I think I prefer enduros over hare scrambles, and
Mhm.
why I have my channels, because there's so many pretty places that you can ride. So yeah, just have a bike and ride it. Don't try and be the next pro.
All right. I like that. And then the last thing I want to touch on today is your channel actually. So how did you get started with all of that? Like, was it something that you just genuinely like wanted to do, or was it something that like people prodded you to do, or?
No one prodded me to do it. I barely rode with anyone at the time, other than like my mom and my dad. I don't know. The way that I ride is I like making my own GPS tracks, and going and riding those trails. The way that I figure out where the trails are is I watch YouTube videos of people's raw, unedited, often badly shot trail footage, and then using Google Earth to match. So
Yeah.
going in and actually matching the landscape to the trail, and I could figure out exactly where everything is. I would design a route. We would go out. We would ride it. So I was already doing that. And I thought, well, I just want to post my footage of my rides, because why not? Like, I get to capture the riding that we did, and I'll have a YouTube channel, and maybe someday I'll have like 100 subscribers, or I can like help someone like kind of get a sense for an area, or something like that. So that was it. That was how I started, and it's developed into what it is now, which is still a tiny little channel where I just post my riding footage and maybe help some people out. And now I race. I started racing before my channel. I forgot. So I was already racing the hare scrambles when I started my channel. So yeah, it's just about showing the ride. Unfortunately, I don't tolerate posting raw footage for me, because I feel like I'm not going fast enough for that to be interesting, in my opinion. Like, who wants to watch 2 hours of me putting along a trail? It's like, let's get to the interesting bits. Like, I want people to, if I want people to see the cool stuff that I did, I have to get them to the cool stuff faster than just posting the raw footage. So I started editing it right off the bat, and then my edits got a little more and more refined, and now I have a pretty standard practice that I go through every time I do an edit. But it's a lot of work to get a video out. So I enjoy it. If I'm not working out or riding, I'm editing. I'm not kidding. It's a lot of hours, but some people seem to enjoy it, so I'll keep doing it while I can.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. You're constantly like putting out new content, and it's so cool to see. I love your adventures with your friend. It's always fun to see like the different things that you guys get up to. But it was a little worrisome seeing that endo that you had. That was like, oh my gosh.
The footage will be in a video I'll post in probably the next few weeks. I'll have that edit actually out. But I was fine. I immediately started crawling away from the bike, and I think the only thing I said was like, oh, that was it. Like, that was my that was my reaction.
Oh my goodness.
So, and then I think I said, I need help, because I was like, I'm not picking up that bike right now. And then I just went and I went and sat for just a little bit, and then I was up and I was fine. So definitely one of the most visually intense crashes I've had. Not the most painful.
It's still, it's a cool thing to see that you're like knowing that you're not okay. It was a cool crash.
Thanks.
None of my crashes are ever like that. So my friend Leah always tells me she loves looking at my crashes. Not my crashes, but like, when I fall or whatever. She's like, you always look like a rag doll falling in slow motion. She's like, your hands go up in one direction and your head goes the other way. And she's like, it's just so entertaining to watch. And so it was super funny. I posted something the other day. She just sent me a thing laughing, and she was just like, "I love when you fall." And I was like, "I'm glad it's entertaining for somebody at least."
I don't get many of my falls from a third person
Yeah.
perspective. It's usually just my POV.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my falls, I feel like they happen real quick. It's
Yep.
just I'm up, then I'm down, and
Yep.
I definitely I fall less than I used to. I will say,
Mhm.
way less. I remember I would tip over all the time.
Yeah.
Stall the bike, tip over something, tip over, lose my balance, tip over. So I have been. I can confidently say that I don't do that very often anymore. Not that it's
Yeah.
bad. I just sometimes I'm like, damn it, I wish I crashed more or I fell more because it makes the video more exciting. Like my
Yeah.
Utah riding, we did a trail. It's called Warner Ridge Trail, Mad Moto Trail, Seven
Uh-huh.
Mile Trail. People have different names, and I did it this year. And there were a couple falls, but we just went through it and it was over, and it was over very quickly. And 2 years ago when I did it, it was this whole struggle, and we were pushing bikes up things, and I was crashing and my dad was crashing, and so it made the video a lot more exciting. So I feel bad sometimes. It's like, sorry I couldn't spice up my video with us failing all over the place.
Sorry, I'm too good.
Yeah. I need to hit things that intentionally will make me fall over, loop my bike out or something. But like I said, I'm
That's
too
always like a
cautious.
50-50 chance for me. So
Yeah. I'm too cautious for that. I'm like, nope, that's the easiest route through, and I know I can do it. So we're not even going to look at that like alternate line or whatever it is.
yeah.
But yeah, I think crashing makes you better. Sometimes I wish I did it more.
If crashing makes you better, then I'll be pro soon. So
There you go. But yeah, if you're not crashing, then you're not like, you got to crash sometimes. Otherwise,
oh, for
you're not
sure.
trying hard
Yeah,
enough.
you're not pushing yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my friend was telling me that one time. He's like, push to your limits, but like, or push your limits, but don't like push too much. Cause this is when I was racing. And he's like, don't push to the point where you're going to crash. He's like, just push enough. And I was like, isn't that like a super fine line? Cause like, you've got to push, you got to be at the edge of your limit. You got to maybe be a little bit out of it, and then that might mean, you slide out or something.
Well, I've gotten very comfortable with that zone. I'm uncomfortably comfortable with it at this
Yeah.
point with racing, and I only go into that zone when I'm racing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just something that it takes time to figure out where that is for you, and immediately know when you've hit it. Like
Yeah.
you're going faster than you want to be going, but you're not
Yeah.
going so fast that you don't have control. And it's
Yes.
a fun space to be in, and I think that's why I like racing, because only by being in that, I'm too cautious. Otherwise, a race gives me a reason to twist the throttle, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm not getting faster. So I think that's one of the benefits of racing versus just trail riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, finding that discomfort.
I like that. I really like that. I push myself to find discomfort on rides all the time. And like I found all these areas close to my house that I'm training on now that are just out of my comfort zone. Not enough to be too dangerous though, like again being on my own, but just enough to where I'm like pushing my limits a little bit. And
Yeah.
like there's all these rocky piles out here. It's like the rock basically, like if you touch it, it'll just crumble in your hand. And so like it's not like it's just loose rocks that I'm trying to like hill climb up. It's like maybe a 40-50 foot hill climb. It's not even that big. But when you're doing it on rocks that are exploding underneath you or moving or both, then it's like it makes it challenging, but it's really, really good training.
Yeah.
So I'm loving it, even though it's a little bit scary. It's not super high consequence there, because if I fall, I'm only falling like 5 to 10 feet, depending on which side I fall on. So it's not terrible, but I did kind of loop my bike out the first day.
Oh, dang.
Because I wasn't expecting it to like crumble like that. When I had walked on it and it was just fine. I walked the section and I looked at it and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna take this spot. I know I'm gonna hit this rock, but I'll just use that to lift my front end up off of this other rock. And so I did it exactly how I wanted to. But when I hit that rock to lift up my front end, that rock exploded and like literally exploded and shot in all different directions. And so I just like looped out. I was like, oh my God, because I wasn't expecting it. So
Yeah, you're not
that
expecting it.
I got,
That's what's bad.
yeah. I mean, I had a piece of rock in my helmet, like between my goggle and my helmet. I was like, what just happened?
Oh yeah, that's my other thing. If you're new to riding, please, for the love of God, wear the proper safety equipment. Oh my gosh.
Oh, mhm.
That's my, yeah, I don't care. Ignore what I said. Just wear the proper safety equipment. Wear goggles, wear a helmet, wear elbow guards, people. Oh my gosh. Wear elbow guards, wear knee guards, wear full boots. None of this like Uggs thing going
Oh
on.
my God, Uggs.
Yeah, just wear
Oh.
all the proper safety gear.
Yeah, well, because my bike is so big and I'm so not, I don't ever go on my bike without at least boots and a helmet. Like I've done static balance, but like, and I see a lot of people do static balance practice, like just go out and they just practice, and I'm like, no, like I'm gonna fall, and chances are I'm not gonna be able to put my foot down in time, so I'm gonna fall, and the bike could potentially fall on me. So it's way safer to have my boots on and my helmet. Like I like my brain the way it is. I would prefer not to have it be too squishy. So the helmet is a must, 100%.
Yeah, a brain bucket
Yeah.
is important. Yeah.
Very. I think that's something that's not talked about enough in any discipline of dirt biking, is that concussions are really big deals. And, we have a lot of technology that's gone into helmets in the last few years that's really helped with the prevention, but the things that we do, it's very easy to get a concussion, and they can be bad and they can really set you back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm lucky I haven't gotten a concussion. Um I gave someone a concussion, but that was my
Ooh.
sibling and I was 8. So my bad. But the play fighting went a little too far on that day. But yeah, concussions mess people up and
Mhm.
take you out of it, and yeah, they're really bad in the long term. So
Yeah.
wear helmets, people. You might think you look cool
Yes.
for the photo, but you look cooler with a helmet. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I agree. I agree. 100%.
yeah.
Well, in the last couple minutes here, the only thing I have for you is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or thank you to?
Um, just the usuals, I guess. Shout out my friend Katie. You can find her on Instagram at KT Enduro. I think it's KT, the letters KT, and
Yep.
then Enduro. Um, yeah, thanks to people who ride with me, my dad, my mom, Paul, who's, yeah, thank you, Paul. And yeah, I just grateful for my district and my race series. Trying to think if I'm forgetting anyone. Shout out Trinity if you happen to listen to this. You're awesome, and you messed up your knee today, so sorry to hear about about that.
Aw.
Yeah, it's all purple and swollen. But yeah, I'm just grateful for my series, and all the women I race with are badass, especially in the enduro series. If you show up for some of those races and you get through it on your own, it's a lot. So Yeah, I don't know if I forgot anyone that I should have mentioned, but that's my core group. Yeah, I just thankful to be here. Thankful to have me on, and
Yeah, of course.
I'll be probably racing this weekend again. So just
Sweet. That'll be
right back into it.
awesome.
Yeah.
And where can people find you on socials?
YouTube is my main thing. That is Miss Trails. I think it says it on my little thing,
Yep.
but
Yep. And we'll link
MISS.
it.
Yeah, MISS and then Trails.
Yep.
And then on Instagram, it's the same handle, Miss Trails. But just know Instagram is the leftovers. It's the shorts from YouTube. So the real stuff that I do is on YouTube. I only got an Instagram as a way of like promoting my YouTube.
Promoting.
So, yeah, that's and then it became its own thing. So that's where you can find me. Yeah, nowhere else. That's it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again so much for your time. This was really cool to connect with you and kind of meet the person behind the YouTube channel. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I've never been interviewed like this before, so but it wasn't an interview, it was a chill conversation, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll have to give this episode and other episodes a listen, and everyone
Yeah.
else should do the same. It's really cool what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, thank you again for your time, and we will talk to you later.
Okay,
All
bye.
right. Bye.